Friday morning, Jayson Tatum guaranteed the U.S. team would beat the world team in the Rising Stars game that night. The U.S. team won. So, Tatum was asked Saturday morning whether he wanted to guarantee anything for that night. He guaranteed he'd win the skills challenge. He won. So, then ESPN's Nichols asked Tatum whether he wants to guarantee anything else. And he really let it ride. Tatum, we're going to win the finals this year. February 16th, mark it. Jayson Tatum says we're going to win the finals this year. Obviously, Tatum wasn't going to pick against Boston. But this wasn't that. He could have easily avoided such a grand proclamation. Instead, even if he were just caught up in the emotion of an All-Star Saturday night victory and taking the interview especially seriously, Tatum put a little more attention and pressure on the Celtics. I'm not convinced that's what this team needs. Mavericks owner Mark Cuban said Kristaps Porzingis will sign long-term with Dallas this summer, and Porzingis he was on the same page. But he will be a free agent. Restricted, but a free agent, nonetheless. Porzingis' exit from the Knicks provided a clue about where he'd want to go if he explores leaving the Mavericks. Mark Stein of the New York Times in his newsletter, the four teams Porzingis had on his wish list of trade destinations were the Nets, Los Angeles Clippers, Miami Heat and Toronto Raptors, according to two people with knowledge of the list who are not authorized to discuss it publicly. Porzingis had little leverage to get to any of these teams, because he'll be a restricted free agent. The Knicks or any team acquiring him would retain immense team control over him. The Nets and Clippers project to have cap space this summer. The Heat and Raptors don't. But even if Porzingis signs an offer sheet elsewhere, Dallas will likely match it. Still, Porzingis will become an unrestricted free agent someday 2020 in the unlikely event he accepts his qualifying offer, or a future year if he signs a multi-year deal this summer. It's probably best to file away this list until then. The Knicks open double max cap space for next summer. Kevin Durant's company is moving to a new office in New York. Kyrie Irving backed away from his commitment to re-sign with the Celtics. Plenty of people were already connecting dots when this video emerged of Durant and Irving talking at the All-Star game, in which, not for nothing, they gelled. Ben Stinner of Amiga Hoops, Irving, via Mass Live, warning, language in the above video, it's just crazy. This is the stuff that just doesn't make the league fun. It doesn't make the league fun. Nobody helps promote the league even more by doing bulls like that, of just putting fictitious things on what we're talking about. It's crazy. It's a video of me and one of my best friends talking. And then it turns out to be a dissection of a free agency meeting. Do you get that? Like, do you get that? And then I'm asked questions about it. That's what disconnects me from all that S. That wasn't a denial. Still, it's hard to believe Durant and Irving really discussed free agency in a hallway with so many people passing. There are far more discreet places to have that conversation. Like a restaurant in Miami where they were spotted together. I understand Irving's exasperation with this, just as I understood Durant's testiness over constant speculation. They should be allowed to spend time together as friends without it turning into a bigger deal. But there is immense interest in where they play next year. People will continue to search for clues, some that prove insignificant, some that might prove significant, about the Stars' futures. So, I'm at least glad Irving addressed this. It's going to get discussed either way. Better for him to enter his perspective into the conversation. There were two memorable dunks in this year's dunk contests. The Hawks nearly stopped us from seeing that latter spectacle. Brian Windhorst of ESPN on Saturday. Now, there's a little curveball here. The last update that I had was that the Hawks hadn't approved John Collins jumping over an airplane yet, and that they were a little bit worried that he was going to trip on it and injure himself. After watching the dunk, I understand the Hawks' reluctance. Collins broke the plane. At least he seemingly emerged unscathed. The NBA reportedly threatened to fine the Pelicans if they sat a healthy Anthony Davis. Then, Davis got booed by New Orleans fans. He got injured in another game. The Pelicans fired Dell Demps as general manager and elevated Danny Ferry to interim general manager. New Orleans is reportedly uncertain how to handle Davis the rest of the season. The key step to changing course is gaining NBA approval, and that's apparently what Ferry is seeking. Mark Stein of the New York Times: there were strong signals in Charlotte that the Pelicans, with Danny Ferry now serving as their acting general manager in the wake of Friday's firing of Dell Demps, intend to re-engage the NBA this week in hopes of convincing league officials to rethink their stance about forcing them to play Davis. A big question: what does Davis want? He failed to give a straight answer about his long-term future, but maybe he can explain his desire for just the rest of this season. He previously said he wanted to play, but that was before he got booed and hurt, developments that could change his thinking. If Davis wants to keep playing, the players' union could take up his cause. That might not be a fight the league wants. Heck, the league might still want Davis to keep playing, regardless. Injury risk was real when the league handed down its initial edict. Emotionally, Davis's shoulder scare shouldn't change the calculus. Davis is in the midst of a great season. Him being a healthy scratch for a month and a half would be a black mark for the NBA. But NBA Commissioner has had Ferry's back before, even reportedly urging the Bucks to consider him for general manager after Ferry made a racist remark that ended his Hawks tenure. Maybe Ferry will convince the league in a way Demps couldn't. If so, attention will turn to Davis and his desire to keep playing.